All right, here we go again. This time around, we're going to look at ways to get our animated characters from Maya into Unity. So just start right off. I'm going to go ahead and set my project so that things are easy to find. All I got to do is find that project folder and set that, and now I can just go to Open Scene. And there's all of my stuff. So I've got this Gingerbread Man. I've got my ready to bake file here. So I'm just going to open that up. Now this is kind of coming full circle for those in the class. Gingerbread Man here is a really kind of a stupid simple model, but something that we were able to model, add some kind of blend colors to, and get an auto rig and all that in one afternoon. So that's why he looks the way he does. So I've got animations that I've already done with him. So I did an auto rig. What we did in the class was just a full-on auto rig. I went through the step-by-step to get this to fit a little bit better in him. And we can look at that at another time. But what I want to show you is go ahead and click on this and get my IK up and my controls. So I'm going to turn off the skeleton and the bones, or the IK, and then the control rig as well. And we're just going to look at this Gingerbread Man just as a quick preview. I'm going to go all the way back to 0, and we'll look at what's going on here. So I've got a really dumb walk cycle, a jump, and kind of a little idle pose. So 3 different animations that I would want to use later in Unity. And I can turn on my control rig here, and we can see what those look like. We just got some keys here. From 1 to 60, I've got my walk cycle. And then I've skipped some frames where we've just kind of still. And then from 70 up to 130, I've got this jump. And then I've got another 60 frame cycle of just Gingy here, just kind of swaying back and forth, being lazy, waiting on something to happen. So just to preview this before we go any further, I'm going to limit my timeline here from 1 to 60, and we'll just hit play, and we'll see what that looks like. That's kind of a silly, exaggerated walk. But since we're experimenting here, we don't want anything that we're too attached to anyway. So we'll just make something silly. We've got a walk. Let me go ahead and go from 70 to 130. And we can look at that by itself, and it's just kind of a jump. See, he kind of winds up a little bit for it, jumps up in the air, crouches back down, and then resumes his standing pose. So that's fun. And then from 240, whoa, that's not even right. From 140 to 200 is just this little sway. All right, this is kind of the character's idle animation. If we were making a game, he's just kind of standing around. He's waiting on something to happen. So 60 frames each on those. And just little bits that we want to use later in Unity. So we've got all this. I'm going to go ahead and turn on all the things. We can see all the bones. We can see the IK handles. We can see the control rig. And the next thing we want to do is export this thing. And so I've got another video that I will link to on the channel where a gentleman talks about the different ways to do this. But we're going to take the easy way out right now, and we're just going to export it all as one FBX with all of our animation cycles on board, and then we will in Unity split those back out. That video that I'm referring to, and we'll put on the channel, they talk about a better way, a little more complex to start off with, but a way to export your model first, and then export different animation cycles, and then tying them back together into Unity. So the animation cycles, you're just exporting the bones. Anyway, this is our guy. Let me just go back to square one or frame one. I'm just going to go to select, and I'm going to want to select all of the joints, right? So these IK handles and some of the other things, they don't come in into Unity very well. The joints is really what we want. So I'm going to grab those, and you can see I've got all of the skeletal bones. And the next step will be to hit Edit, and we're going to bake this. Now, before we do that, let me point out that anything we want to do after we bake, it can't be done. Once you've baked this simulation, all the bones and all the animations are kind of, well, I mean, they're baked, they're cooked. You can't go back and change the recipe. So once I've baked this simulation, I do not want to save this file over the top of the one that I opened up to begin with, right? So this is ready to bake, as you can see up here in the corner. We don't want to overwrite that in case we ever want to come in and change anything. But let me go back to keys, bake simulation. I don't think there's anything important that we need in here. Just in case, we're going to go ahead and make sure that we're using the default. So I'll just go ahead and hit reset those, and I'm just going to bake. And it's going to go through all the animations. Now remember what these keyframes look like. Oh my goodness, look, they're all full up. So we have completely baked the animations onto the joints. I can grab just a joint here. I'm going to go back to those. All by type joints. So the animations have been baked on frame by frame, right? So we had keyframes and we had Maya tweening between them. Now each frame is baked. So that's what we want. So I'm going to turn these off. We don't need the control rig. We don't need the IK. The joints, the actual bones is what's going to come in. So we could go straight to our exporter, but just to make sure we don't have anything we don't need, I'm going to go in and I'm going to pull up my hierarchy here. So that's our reference, and here's the control rig. I'm just going to delete this and see what happens, because I don't think we need that at all. Just going through here. Everything's been baked. Interesting. All right, these should be our joints. Let me just zoom in. Yes. So character 1 references our actual skeletal structure, our joints, and then this should be the IK handles. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to get risky here, and I'm just going to grab the skeleton root and delete that. So now I've just got Gingy here and this character 1 reference. And let me go ahead and rename that really quick. So there's no confusion, and that cascades down the line. All right. Go back to full screen, frame this out just to make sure everything's still kosher and working. Look at that. Run, jump, and idle. All right. So I can grab all of this, and where I would have expected to grab the mesh, all I grabbed was the joint. So if I export just the joints, all I'm going to get is the animation. So I'm just going to do a keyboard shortcut here and Command or Control Shift A, select everything, and we're going to go to our game exporter. Now we shouldn't have to do anything over here with animation clips because we didn't layer our animations out. You can do that. We didn't do that. We're not that advanced yet. So we want to export selection. Smoothing groups, skinning, all this kind of stuff is as normal. I am going to want to export the animation. Y is our up axis. Everything else looks fine. Don't see anything alarming. Yeah, so really this is all the kind of the default stuff. Selection instead of everything so that I'm not bringing in lights and cameras that I don't need out of Maya. And then I opened up settings to check export animation. We want a single file. So really that export animation was the only thing that I changed. I'm going to choose the assets folder to save my stuff to, give it a name. He's just going to be Gingerbread Man. You know what? Let's keep it simple. He's Gingy. So we're going to export that. And allegedly, it's successful. So let me jump over to Unity. You may recognize this scene that we were playing with earlier, bringing in asset packages. I'm in the right folder. I'm in my folder. Remember, we don't want to anger any of our teammates and start throwing models everywhere. So this is my folder. I'm just going to go to my Finder, Windows Explorer, for those of you on the dark side, the light side. We can have that debate later. Documents, Maya, projects, Gingy, assets. There he is. Now we'll just drag him in, cross our fingers and wait. And there's Gingerbread Man. Now here's something cool. So usually we'll have our model, we'll have a scale factor. We've got some rigs and animations going on here now, so that's fun. We've also got this preview window down here. So by default, I get one clip out of Maya because I didn't tell it to do anything else. I just said, hey, just be all one animation. So I've got this one giant take one clip, and I'll hit play. And we can see down here in the corner, there's the Gingerbread Man doing everything we thought he was doing in Maya. If anything, maybe a little slower. I can right click on this bar and we can open this up a little bit better and see what the take one animation is. I'm just going to go ahead and close that out. No, really, you're good. Let me do this before I get into cutting up the animations. I'm going to mess with my model. I've already tried this, so I know that I need to up the scale factor so that he fits nicely. Whoop. Hit Command Z accidentally. So I accidentally clicked keep quads. 50, enter. So I want to get that scale up. I'll apply that. Had we drug him out here, we would have seen he went from minuscule to ginormous. But that's about the scale factor I want. Save that. And then I'm also going to drag him out here. And there was one other thing I wanted to do with him. And he had a little bit of a bump map in Maya. Let me turn him around so I can see him. Why is he not? Oh, I just need to turn this guy. Turn the master. All right. Have him face the camera. Looking kind of good. Make sure that no, I didn't have a bump map on him. That was a separate file. All right, then we're good to go. I can quit wasting time. Here's all the things that we see came in with our Gingerbread Man. So let me go back to animations and talk about how to do these. So by default, as I said, we had this take one. It was everything from 1 to 200 on the animation slider in Maya. I don't want to play all of that on every keystroke, right? I have different animations for different things. So I'm going to go ahead and hit this plus button here. I'm just going to go ahead and name this walk. And I'm going to limit that to the 60 frames. That is the actual walk cycle. Now I've got that applied. And let me look at that. It's just the walk, and you can see it. Looks a little slow, but it's his walk, so we're good. And I'll finish chunking these out. Pause that. Jumpo sounds funny, but we're not gonna use that. And 70 to 130 was where my jump was at. Apply. And there's the jump cycle. Finally idle. Hit enter. And this was 140 to 200. Let's go ahead and pop that out again, and we'll hit play. And there's his idle animation waiting on something to happen. All right, so we've got him imported. We broke out our animations, got him scaled up for the scene. Possibly, I don't know if we want him to be that big. Let's make him a little smaller. And apply. So he can be the same size as our little Lego guy. He still might be a little towering to some of the dragons off in the distance. So let me just go back down to 25. Yeah, that's fine. Then if he kicks something or runs into it, it'll actually mean something. Because when he's too big, he could just kind of run through like a monster and destroy our level. So let me save that. We've got our animated character in. We're not doing anything with him. Watch if I hit play. No one's calling any animation. Nothing's being triggered via script. So those animations are just sitting there waiting for something to happen. And this is the game actually playing. Nothing's happening. So we've got all this. We imported all of our stuff, our FBXs. One last thing. Almost forgot. Let me make this into a prefab. All right, save our goodness. That's our Gingy prefab, and we'll drag him down. There we go. Let me just make sure that worked. So I'm going to delete the raw import from the scene. Drag out the prefab. Go ahead and put him back in that. So I didn't tell him where to go, so he's probably, yes, the Gingerbread Man is hanging out on the Enterprise naturally. I mean, that's where I would be. So I set him to 0. Apparently that 0 is in relation to what's in that folder. There we go. Let's try that again. Nope, undo that. I just moved the whole folder again. You know what? When things don't work out, it's okay to undo it. Command Z, pull that guy out. And instead of dragging him to a folder, we'll drag him to the scene where we want him, and then we'll place him in a folder. Always 101 ways to do anything in 3D. All right, so we'll drag him out here. And then we'll drag him into the relative folder, and he's got his position. He's good to go. Just double check that guy. We got a joints reference. Interestingly, the prefab may or may not have the animation applied. So we may need to hang on to that FBX import. Anyway, he's here. Let me go ahead and push these changes that I've got to the rest of my team. And we will be back in just a little bit to figure out how to call those animations. Maybe make this guy walk around, jump over some things. Yes, save the scene. And there it is. Collab's up to date. This is now the official scene, and we'll be back shortly to walk this guy around.